If interest rates rise before these incredible debt ratios decline, does the member believe we could face a debt crisis in Canada, a debt crisis of which I have warned in the past and am warning in the present? Does he share that concern, and what would he do to avoid it?
More than $1 trillion of federal debt. That's the federal government's debt, and it's going up by about $4,500 every single second. So it sure seems like Ottawa is using the printing press to finance a good chunk of its deficits.
Lincoln J for Rebel News here in Toronto now. As you can see behind me, there's a truck that's been brought here to the parking lot of Ontario Place displaying a special message for Canadians. Franco Terrazzano with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation has brought the truck here to downtown Toronto to show people exactly what the debt situation is like here in Canada. The Canadian Taxpayer Federation is a federally incorporated, not-for-profit citizens group dedicated to lower taxes, less waste, and accountable government. The setup here is known as a debt clock, and the numbers displayed are quite shocking. What kind of future does this leave for Canadians, and what kind of hardships are we going to have to endure because of this? We're going to talk to Franco, get his thoughts on Canada's debt situation, and find out exactly why it's important for him to be here today spreading this message for Canadians. Let's take a look.
So my name's Franco Terrazzano. I'm the federal director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. We've been around for about 30 years in Canada, fighting for lower taxes, and we've been bringing a form of the national debt clock coast to coast for almost 30 years, sounding the alarm over runaway deficits and debt, and that's what we're doing here again. But I have a little bit of a funny story to tell you. This is actually a brand new debt clock. We had to get a new one because the Trudeau government broke the last debt clock. Turns out that we just didn't have enough digits to show the government's full $1 trillion of debt, so we had to get a new one. And I always say in 30 years that we've been around for an organization, we made one big mistake. We underestimated just how good politicians are at spending everyone else's money.
So I'm looking at the truck here, and we have two big numbers here, right? Do you want to just tell us exactly what those numbers mean? You can start with the one at the top.
Yeah, so the top line number is more than $1 trillion of federal debt. That's the federal government's debt, and it's going up by about $4,500 every single second. But the one that really gets it for me is the your share just below that, and it shows that each Canadian is on the hook for about $31,000 in federal government debt. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have tens of thousands of dollars just lying around to pay for our politicians' credit card bills, and really that's why we're sounding the alarm here, because Canadians are already overtaxed. So many people that don't have more money to pay higher taxes, and that's why we need Trudeau to stop this deep dive into debt.
How can we know officially that these numbers are accurate?
Yeah, we took it from the government's own budget documents. The government's own budget documents show that they're more than $1 trillion in debt. So you don't even have to take it from us, just read their own budget numbers. Why is it important for you to be here today displaying this message for Canadians here in Toronto? Yeah, we're right downtown Toronto. We got a lot of cars that have been going by. We've had people out this morning taking photos, looking at the debt clock. But you know what? It's important for a few reasons. And number one of the key messages that I've been getting from a lot of people as we take it coast to coast is that they're worried, man. Like, they're worried about the ability of their kids and grandkids to have financial success. That's one thing that we've heard. Right now, each Canadian is already on the hook for more than $31,000, and that bill continues to climb. And so many Canadians are worried about what type of future they're leaving for their kids and their grandkids. So that's a message that we've been bringing and will be bringing coast to coast. In your opinion, if we continue down this path, what does the future look like for the everyday average Canadian? I think it's going to be a higher cost of living. Already during the pandemic, right now, we are learning that there's no free lunch when it comes to government spending. We're seeing the inflation tax, rampant inflation, 3 decades high. And why are we seeing massive inflation? Well, you had the federal government's printing press on overdrive during the pandemic. The central bank printed up about $370 billion by buying financial assets like Government of Canada debt. So it sure seems like Ottawa is using the printing press to finance a good chunk of its deficits. And that means that Ottawa is financing some of its deficits by devaluing your money. That's the inflation tax. The more dollars the government prints, the less that your dollars buy.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you like our coverage at Rebel News, you want to support Rebel News, if you want to spread the message of Rebel News, consider visiting our Rebel News store. There you can get cool toques like this. We have a bunch of other items for sale. That's rebelnewsstore.com. Check it out, guys.